I want to say good morning and welcome to our next guest, Jim Miller, Executive Director of the Mississippi Main Street Association. Jim, good morning. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning, Richard. Appreciate you having me this morning.
Absolutely. Small towns, big towns all across the state of Mississippi have invested in downtowns. They have invested in main streets, and man, it sure feels like it's paying dividends.
Absolutely, Richard. So, we at the Mississippi Main Street Association, we seek to be the catalyst for the preservation and the economic revitalization of our state's historic downtowns and traditional commercial districts. And what we found is that quality of place is such an important factor for battling brain drain, keeping people in your town. It's also a very strong economic driver for the town. So I think you're spot on.
We have been, and this is not to call out anybody in particular, but just in the last couple of months, we've spent time in West Point. There has been a huge revitalization of downtown and Main Street in West Point. We've spent time in New Albany, Bankhead Street, Main Street there in New Albany with the Tanglefoot Trail and all of the business activity that's going on there. Those are just a couple of examples of places that we've been, and it's happening like that all over the state. Why is it that it has been so attractive for towns to invest in kind of the heart of their community?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. A little bit of history lesson. Going back kind of post World War II, you had the Highway Act. You had people basically spreading out. Not inherently a bad thing. In fact, it was a great thing. But you had people, moving out to the suburbs. You think about the Wonder Years and places like that, and while those were good things, what ultimately happened is you started seeing blight in our traditional main streets. You started seeing people kind of leave those traditional kind of beating hearts of our respective communities, and so people realized pretty quickly that was a problem, but they didn't really know how to fix it. So there were a lot of efforts that were attempted from the federal level, ultimately unsuccessful until 1980, when the National Trust piloted a program called the National Main Street Center. Piloted it in 3 different communities, and it was wildly successful. And so the Main Street approach rolled out as a result of that. So in the state of Mississippi, we're actually celebrating. We began our statewide program in 1984, so this is our 40th anniversary, and we have you're again spot on. We have seen some amazing results from it, and you can go to the northeast part of the state. I grew up in Tupelo, so what I've enjoyed maybe most about this job is getting the opportunity to go to some of these communities that I didn't traditionally spend time in growing up. So going to Vicksburg, going to Ocean Springs, going to Sumrall, going to Woodville, top to bottom, left to right, just amazing towns across our state.
So there's a designation on your website, designated communities, network communities, associate communities, and the 2 biggest categories are the designated communities and the associate communities. What's the difference in those 2?
Yeah, so we have those 3 different levels of membership. All communities come in at the associate level. That's basically for a community who's on the front end of being interested in downtown revitalization. It's basically an opportunity to kind of dip their toe in. And for a lot of communities, that's enough. They have access to the trainings, to the technical assistance, but they are not at that juncture, at least, interested in putting in the larger investment and receiving a higher level of service from our staff. So we have a lot of communities at the associate level. Some of those intend to move to higher levels. If they do intend to move to a higher level, they would move into the network pathway, which is basically a bridge to the designated level of membership, which is the highest level. We have, I believe, about 30 to 32 associate communities. We only have 1 to 2 network communities right now. They are in the process of moving toward designated, and we have just south of 50 designated communities. So all told, I believe 80 to 82 communities across the state.
So there's been a lot of buy-in as more and more communities say, hey, we want to be a part of this. We want to be part of the Main Street Association. And I guess maybe different reasons that people would choose to be associate, whether it's budget related or maybe they think they've kind of got it under control and like the way they're handling things, but still want to be at least a part of this group.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think you're spot on. I think there's a gamut of reasons that people choose not to move beyond the associate. Many don't intend to move beyond the associate, and then when they begin to realize some of the benefits of the work, they ultimately choose to move to a higher level of membership. Um, I can share some stats if you want me to throw some numbers at you.
Let's do it. Wait, let's do. No,
All right.
sometimes numbers are hard on the radio, but sometimes they're good also.
Well, I'll try to tone it down. I won't hit you with all of them, but just looking at our network and designated level communities in 2023 alone, just in the state of Mississippi, last year we saw 372 new businesses created in those communities, 71 businesses expanded, almost 900 new jobs. We saw 170 facade rehabilitations. Jumping around here, nearly 139 public improvement projects, 47,000 volunteer hours, and we saw $78 million in public dollars invested and nearly $250 million in private dollars invested. So, there's a pretty clear ROI. If you begin to dig into the numbers, we're all, not all numbers people, but if you look at what can come out of the investment, it paints a pretty clear picture.
Do you work? I mean, is the best way to describe it kind of working hand in hand with the local chambers of commerce or tourism boards, or I mean, it's not that you're taking over the work that's going on with local communities and their staffs, but kind of being a partner, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. We're not interested in taking over anything, and it really, Richard, varies from community to community in terms of how it's set up. So some communities have standalone Main Street organizations. Others have partnerships. So they might be in partnership with their chamber of commerce. They might be in partnership with their tourism entity. Some fall under the city. It really just depends on how that community wants to set it up. And our main role is to provide targeted technical assistance, provide access to grant opportunities, provide training to member communities through the year. So we don't intend to come in with a sledgehammer by any means.
Yeah.
We incorporate what's called the Main Street approach, or the 4-point approach. That's a scalable model to revitalization that's applicable to any community. So we attempt to come in and kind of guide the community in how they might address those 4 points of organization, promotion, design, and economic vitality.
Visiting with Jim Miller just for a couple more minutes, Executive Director of Mississippi Main Street Association. What's on the horizon? I mean, as you look to the future, whether it's in the months ahead or the years ahead, as communities continue to invest, continue to grow, continue to try to revitalize downtown areas, Main Street areas, what's ahead?
Yeah, we would love to see continued growth. Honestly, we have experienced and I think benefited from a lot of growth over the last few years. We would love to see all 300 plus municipalities in the state become Main Street communities. I don't think that's going to happen. We certainly love to see that. We would love to figure out ways to better get the message out about the benefit of downtown revitalization. That your downtown, it doesn't have to be an afterthought, but it can become what it was 40, 50, 60 years ago. We would love to figure out new and better ways to share that message, and I think the message is going out. But if anyone would like to learn more, our website is msmainstreet.com. And we're a staff of 5, so all our emails, telephone numbers are on there. You're not going to get a machine; you're going to get one of us. So.
Jim Miller, Executive Director of the Mississippi Main Street Association. Thanks so much for your time. Always good catching up. Good to have you, and look forward to chatting again soon.
Appreciate y'all so much for having me, Richard.
Jim Miller from Mississippi Main Street Association. That website, one more time, msmainstreet.com. If your community is not part of Mississippi Main Street Association, maybe now's the time. Reach out. You heard him say relatively small staff, and so you're not talking to an answering service. You're talking to the staff there at Mississippi Main Street Association. We got more coming up with you. This is the Gallo Radio Show on SuperTalk Mississippi.